I want this to be a very interactive meeting today. And so I'd like two questions, and we're going to talk a little bit about stress. Since we've had so much stress lately, I think that this has been a big topic. And I think that everyone deals with stress differently. We all are at a heightened stress level most of the time, that we currently live in a stressful environment. Hearing Bailey talk about her mom, our grandmother, sorry, and how peaceful and how serene that life was. Very similar to my grandmother, where my grandmother lived in a very rural area and was surrounded by all natural things, and that's why they lived so long, I think, till also 96, and didn't go to the country and ate food from, she had pigs, and she at 96 would wash her clothes by hand still, and lived a very, very serene life, which was amazing, and even taught herself to read the Bible. So I really admire women that are strong like that and have overcome so much and still have produced so much in teaching us youngers how to live well. So how do we deal with stress? Since we're faced with so much lately, I'm trying to get rid of this slide, sorry. How are we all dealing with stress? I just want to say that our genetics has a big part, and one of the things that affects our genetics is 70% of our stress comes from our genetics, what we've been exposed to, how we're living, how we are breathing, and our environment. Part of that is also what we eat. We have talked about food freedom and how important it is to eat well. Like my grandmother, she ate mostly meat and vegetables and fruit and everything fresh and nothing preserved at all. So living a long life also depends on what you put into your body and how your skin feels and how your skin looks. Great water, drinking water from a well. Okay, that's very rural, but how we live now is all brought in with chemicals. From the lotion I put on this morning, from all the things that we have been exposed to, increases the risk for other problems. So even drinking, I have here my water bottle. I see that we have it from her glass. And yes, and water is so important. We need to drink, 70% of our body is water, and we need to replace that. And so we're supposed to drink half our body weight in ounces. So most of us should drink at least 2 liters to 3 liters of water. If you work out, you really need to drink more. And you should drink about 1 liter before going to work out. And that will hydrate your body before you even start. Christine, are you trying to send a message?
Yes.
Yes. I hear it. I don't see what you're doing, but I was just hearing something, sorry. So the other things that affect our health are heavy metals, which is in the environment. A lot of people are having problems with mercury toxicity from our fillings in our teeth. And they're also having difficulty with metals we're exposed to, including cadmium, copper even. In the environment that I live in, I found out that my husband's allergic to antimony, and antimony is in gunpowder. And gunpowder is, we're at Fort Riley, where there's an army base, and they shoot guns every day. So gunpowder is in the air. So even something like that you're not knowledgeable about can cause inflammation. And cortisol is the stress hormone that can lead to all of these problems, including osteoporosis, because muscle breaks down when it's been stressed as well. Autoimmune disorders, when we're eating foods that are filled with pesticides, we are sometimes getting poor nutrition, even though we may have a salad and you have salad dressing, such as ranch, for instance, filled with high fructose corn syrup. So you're thinking you're eating healthy, but suppose the lettuce has pesticides on it. That's why it's so important to eat organically. So does anyone know whether they even have a gut dysfunction? Because that can cause autoimmune disorders. Does anyone have any questions about? Yes, Deb?
Well, I know I have one. That was
yes. And what do you think the cause has been?
I believe it's generational. I also believe that that's where I carry my stress, is in my gut. I have I have a healthy diet, and I source all my food organically and do most of the cooking here, so I can create it the way I need to for my gut health. But I do know that I have like a leaky gut from a number of years of not, I just think it's a generational thing too. It's passed down to my son as well.
Okay. So we can change that generational problem by being aware of the causes. So gut and leaky gut, as you just brought up, can create autoimmune disorders, which include rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis. It can even lead to such a problem as a Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's. And so healing the gut is very important. So at Harvard, they figured that zonulin was one of the things that is positive when you have a leaky gut. And what happens is there are pores in the gut where all the chemicals that we're eating or even the water we're drinking that may have too much metals in it can leak into your system. And what your body does is it generates a fight or flight response, which means, I'm going to get hit by a car. That's the same stressor that occurs. So your epinephrine, norepinephrine, and all your neurotransmitters are increased maximally, and they stay high. And then they start attacking different parts of the body, joints, for say rheumatoid arthritis, the brain nerves, like the dendrites in the brain can get stripped by exposure to even chemicals that start actually the gut. Most people don't realize that even thyroid diseases are caused from the gut. So when someone has a hypothyroidism, they may have normal T4 by replacing their thyroid with something like Synthroid, but sometimes they have a problem converting from T4 to T3, which 40% of the population have that problem. And if they have this problem, they may need T4 and T3, which is in like Armour-Throid or something like Nature-Throid, or you can have it compounded where you're going to get both. But some people, if they're having fatigue, if they're not sleeping well, sometimes it could be a problem with your thyroid, but it may have started in your gut. So I usually recommend for most people to actually change their gut health and change their eating habits. And as in our food freedom, I'm actually pressing the wrong button, sorry. As in our food freedom, oh, my button is over here. Hey! In our food freedom, we need to learn that dairy is not as good as it used to be. And the reason why dairy is bad is not that the milk and the cows are really bad, but how we've been treating our cows is the problem. So the cows are getting antibiotics and they're getting all these things to fatten them up so they can sell more meat. So if you have grass-fed, antibiotic-free beef, then you're having a less inclination to have something that may irritate your gut and cause these autoimmune disorders. But cutting back dairy is very important in this country, not necessarily everywhere. So cheese, dairy, alcohol. Alcohol has a lot of sugar in it, and sugar is very addicting. And in 1950, Harvard got donated a lot of money from the sugar industry to say fats are bad. And that's when the whole era of sugars came in. And if you look from 1950 on, especially in the 80s, most people are heavier and heavier and higher heart disease. Heart disease is secondary to mostly sugar. And what happens when you are stressed, you crave sugar because cortisol is a glucocorticoid. So glucose is required for the brain to function. So you crave what your brain wants. As I love Jamaican food, I think about it, I smile, right? And it's because it brings back memories of my past. and it's the memory that I'm attached to, not always just the taste. And so the gut needs to be healed by reducing these things that are bad, like processed foods, such as, pastas and breads and all the things that cause this problem. But cortisol is the main source of the problem. So who else knows that they're stressed right now and eat from stress? All of you look fairly healthy, but anyone stressing? Yes, Bilguni? You can unmute yourself.
I have I have the gut problem, and I think my cortisol are staying always high, and that's why I have this Hashimoto. So I think it's constant stress, and then now I am like, compared to 3 years ago, I'm less stressed right now. But I have developed all these food sensitivities and food allergies. So my body is under always attack. So I have eliminated lots of food, but still it is not helping me. The body ache and the headache is like kind of constant. And when I wake up in the morning, the puffy face, swelling in the face, fingers, and the body ache, neck pain. So it gets in my way for my day-to-day function.
Yes. So one of the reasons for that is when Hashimoto's develops, what your body has done is attack the thyroid itself. And the reason it's done that is because the thyroid has been working so hard to keep up with all that stress. Remember, it controls heart rate and blood pressure. And so your body has been mad that you've created all this stress, but you have to start in your gut by healing the gut so that more pesticides and more abnormalities in our food and in our environment aren't getting into your system, that your body is reacting even more. But some people have gone past the point of just fixing the gut and need other things like LDN, which is low dose naltrexone. And what that does, it will actually help the thyroid heal itself. And that's something that I'll talk to you even more about later, because I think it's very complex. And there's actually a book called the LDN book, which is great for people that have autoimmune disorders, such as rheumatoid arthritis, MS, Hashimoto's. And it's written by Linda Ellsgood. It's called the LDN book. It's a great book. Another book that's really good is the Hashimoto's Protocol by Isabella Wentz. Isabella Wentz. It's a great book.
Yes, I have that one.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have gut disorders of any kind and maybe they have gut disorders and don't know? That is another common problem that most people don't know until they start having other symptoms. So very classic symptoms of gut dysfunction are not vomiting and nausea and abdominal pain. It goes to the other organs in the body, including joints, including migraines. Some people that have migraines, most of the people that have migraines that I see, I recommend magnesium. Sometimes people are deficient in magnesium. L-theanine. L-theanine is a big one. It gets out the chatter in the brain. Also, progesterone. Most women that are progesterone deficient will get migraines. Another one is alpha lipoic acid, and then fish oils. Fish oils, such as omega-3, are very important for lubricating joints and for lubricating, and it's a great anti-inflammatory because it stimulates the immune system. And so these are some simple things that would be helpful even in a migraine. I know a lot of you or some of your friends may have migraine issues, and that's one of the things, if I haven't seen as a patient, I can't prescribe like progesterone, but the other things are available even through full scripts to be able to get to help reduce symptoms. What other symptoms are you ladies even having that you don't even know is related to stress? Angie, I'm calling you out. I can't hear you. Yes.
Other symptoms related to stress?
That you don't even realize are related to stress. Are you having any symptoms at all? Headaches, joint pain, backache?
Mainly, well, headaches. That seems related. Headaches and not sleeping.
Yes. So not sleeping is another factor that is a result of sometimes deficiency in melatonin. As we discussed the other day, melatonin, you really should sleep in a dark room because as we age, melatonin decreases by 15% each decade after age 20. So babies sleep the most, teenagers used to sleep the most, but this thing we're talking through right now has light, and the steels are light, so does this from our eyes, and it reduces our melatonin production. So some people may need melatonin, and I usually recommend liquid because you can titrate the amounts to when you're not feeling well and not take a full heavy dose all the time. But headaches and melatonin actually go hand in hand. When you have lack of melatonin, it affects the dendrites in the brain, and sometimes you're getting an effect of that as well. But progesterone could be a cause as well. So it could be multifactorial, but even something simple like that could be helpful for you.
I have a question.
Yes.
About melatonin. Will it, by taking the supplement, does that decrease your natural production?
No.
Will it affect
It
you?
doesn't block your natural production because your production is decreasing anyway as we age. So if you're, say, 40, you're going to be making 30% less anyway. So taking it is not going to affect your actual production. The best thing is actually a dark room, and the light, decreased light exposure is very important. But as I was going to explain as well, if I can share my screen again here, one of the things that affects even the neurology, being melatonin affecting poor sleep, is also the anxiety and depression that occurs. And in the morning, as we wake up and serotonin increases, it decreases melatonin, right? So it is very, very good to sleep when it's dark out, and to wake up when the birds are waking up, actually. And then also your food cravings can affect the neurons in the brain. So sugars, it's terrible to have sugar at bedtime. Because within 4 hours, you're gonna wake up because you're hypoglycemic. So your sugar level goes high and then it bottoms out. And when it bottoms out, that's when we know that we need to wake up. And so we wake up to go use the bathroom, to urinate, but actually there's not that much volume. It's because you're hypoglycemic and your body's waking you up to go, as if you were in the old days, hunter-gatherer, go get some food for me to eat again. So eating a lot of sugar before bedtime isn't great. And then one of the things that I often recommend for people that have cortisol issue is whenever you start gaining weight right here, it's because it's a cortisol problem. So reducing stress through meditation, as we've been doing. Joe Dispenza's book really enlightens that for me. Also, yoga, massage, float therapy, exercise, those things can help reduce cortisol. But also your hypothalamus shrinks as we get older. So you need things that make you happy, such as the Athena sisterhood, right? It stimulates dopamine release. Those things are great for the brain to function. And this can be a big help to even an autoimmune disorder, because the gut, immune, brain, that triad is a big thing. So your immune system gets affected, your brain is affected, and it starts in the gut. So just awareness of what you're eating and your choices is very important, because cortisol has a big impact, from genetics to diet to environment to even happiness. I think that this has been a great experience of happiness for all of us, and a reality to be more happy. And that's a big part for brain function and brain fog. Has anyone had trouble remembering words or thinking that they forgot their keys somewhere? Julie? Yes. Sometimes that brain fog is due to the nerves. Do you like sugars? No? Yes, you like sugars. Okay. So maybe reducing that even just a little bit would be helpful in helping the brain function better. And then who else raised their hand for sugar? Falguni, what do you like that's very sweet?
I like all the Indian sweets made out of milk and sugar. But though I don't crave for sugar, in my case, I crave for time to time for, let's see, I forgot the word, gluten.
Gluten?
Yes,
Yes.
I crave for that.
Terrible for your gut.
Yes.
Yes. So you should eat no pasta, no bread, nothing with gluten. But you also have to be careful because gluten-free products, like they have pastas now with gluten-free, they have xanthan in their gum. And so that is also not great for your gut. So instead of having, say, if you want spaghetti and meat sauce, right? Instead of having a gluten-free spaghetti, it's better to have those zucchini strings. And it's heartier and it's better for you because it's a vegetable.
And I have one more question.
Yeah.
You mentioned about progesterone. So if somebody doesn't have like as we age, the production goes down.
Yes.
So progesterone can be taken like orally,
Yes.
or it can be okay.
Yes, it can be taken orally. And so I'm going to show you here. When progesterone declines as we age, it actually declines starting in our 30s. And so when progesterone is declining and you're becoming estrogen dominant, meaning you have too much estrogen compared to progesterone, progesterone is important for sleep, mood, and irritability. It's also responsible for your energy level, but when you have estrogen dominance, these are the symptoms a lot of women will have. And I apologize, my computer is running low on battery. Sorry. Sorry. So it's good now. So a lot of women have a lot of these symptoms and they don't realize it's due to progesterone. But one of the things that steals progesterone, remember, is cortisol. So if you're having mood, weight gain, anxiety issues, progesterone is always stolen by cortisol. So remember, I'm talking about cortisol, and no one thinks about stress creating a problem with progesterone, but it really does. Even at age 14, if somebody has a young child that's very moody or very irritable, their progesterone may be low, whether they don't have the right iPhone or they don't have the right computer or their hair isn't perfect. That's stress in its own right. Maybe a different stress compared to the stress that we think about, but that can steal progesterone as well. And that can be a cause for difficulty sleeping in young children. And it can also be a cause for mood disturbances. So that's something interesting to think about as well. Yeah. Does anyone have any moody kids? Let me put this back up.
If I could just thank you so much for sharing that, Goddess of Healing, because I have a cousin and her daughters, they all suffer at various times from panic attacks. And that might be, and I don't know, I don't profess to understand what their stress might be, but that makes perfect sense that it would be associated with that, which would lower the progesterone, which would create this effect. Yes?
Yes.
Is that what I understand?
Yes. And so it's very interesting because my husband used to be an ER doc, and he said he's done $1 million workups on all these young girls from the university that come in with panic attacks and, $1 million workups for MRI of brain and checking heart and all of these things. And half of them probably had progesterone deficiency. Yes. Wow. And it's a big thing that is not actually checked very often. And one of the reasons it's not checked very often is the synthetic progesterone does have a slightly higher risk for breast cancer. And so only the bioidentical would be something that would be suggested, because the synthetic one is not, your body sees it and doesn't recognize it and creates a reaction to it. Where the natural one, I'll show you the difference here in just one second, if I can figure out my screen sharing here again. I should have done 2 different screens, I think. Let's see. No? Can you see this one? Yes? Okay. So in regards to progesterone, when you have the synthetic, this is what it looks like, and this is what your body makes. And see how these two are very different? You don't have to be a scientist to know that this has extra methyl groups. What the bioidentical is, they get the base from yam, they add carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen for it to look exactly like what your body makes. Now this is safe. And I have articles that...
I don't think we're seeing the right slide.
Oh, uh-oh. Let's see. What are you seeing?
Cortisol in the center? Is that the right one?
The progesterone?
No, it has the cortisol slide.
Oh, this one? Okay, no, that's not the one I want you to see. Sorry. Thank you for telling me. I'm here talking. Okay, this one, can you see this one? No?
No.
Uh-oh. Okay, my technology is not so good today. Okay. Oh, I stopped sharing, that's why. New share. I'm sharing the wrong screen. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, now you'll be able to see it. Thanks for telling me. I'm just talking off. Can you see this now? Yes, thank you. I'm still getting better, so not too bad. So Provera doesn't look anything like progesterone. You can see that the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen doesn't look like this, but bioidentical, the base from yam, our carbon, hydrogen, oxygen looks exactly like what our body makes. So this is the one that's safe to have. And if you want articles about the safety in what you can actually take if you were to go to someone to have this done, I'll be more than happy to provide all of that information for you. This has been extensive research done by amazing scientists about this. The problem is I'm trying to share my screen and then come back to not sharing my screen. Hey. So, Jonalyn, do you have any questions?
No, actually, when you brought up the progesterone deficiency, I used to take progesterone. My gynecologist prescribed yam-based ones, and I haven't taken it in a while. But, you know, ever since I went through my chemo treatments and all that, I'm finding that I have leftover effects like PTSD, which I never even knew, but my doctor told me that that's something that happens. So I have these anxiety and panic attacks, but what I do is I drink water and work out, which is always my solution to everything, right? Yeah. But I think that I might be, I could look into getting some progesterone again and balancing that, because between, I mean, all my hormones, right now I was actually diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis 25 years ago. Wow. But then I think it's in remission now, because as long as I'm taking my probiotics and eating right, I'm able to stave off the pain. And I can relate to what Falguni is dealing with. You know, there was times I'd get out of bed and just in so much pain from just the joints, you know, and I have a lot of joint damage on my hands. But aside from that, I've been able to stay ahead of it. So I think that a lot of just these symptoms that I used to feel, I'm not feeling anymore, all because I'm staying more aware of my diet and trying to do my breathing exercise, which is another way that I deal with stress. I don't eat, like I actually am opposite of a stress eater. I don't eat when I'm stressed. I'm finding that I have to force myself to eat when I'm in that stress mode. So, which could be a good problem, but not so much, you know. But aside from that,
the nutrition.
What was that? What did you say?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said, but anyway.
I said nutrition, you need the nutrition, but you have to have good choices. Yeah. Can you hear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can hear.
So I want you to read the LDN book. I think the LDN book would be great.
What does LDN
it will explain about how it's a low dose naltrexone. Okay. And I can message you. I'll message you about it, because I think that's helpful. People that have rheumatoid arthritis, it doesn't go away. You just have to help it to get better. And because the joint's already inflamed, but it starts in the gut and it totally affects joints. And it's a huge thing in regards to just getting up in the morning, and LDN is fantastic for that.
Yeah, and probiotics for me really did wonders. Yeah, I found ever since I took that, I think it healed my leaky gut, and everything else is working. You know, now I take vitamins, taking the CoQ10, omegas, and magnesium. those are my go-tos. So.
Perfect. And one of the things is you have to change your probiotic every 3 months. If not, your gut gets weak. So you have to go to a different one, and different kinds, different. You need to have at least 7 strains in the probiotic for it to be very good for your gut. And one of the things that would be helpful is I can give you an idea of 4 different ones that you can switch every 3 months.
Perfect. I never knew that. You always make us so much smarter. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. This is my hope, to educate everyone about things to do naturally to be healthy. Any other questions?
And you always make it very fun as well for us. So,
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm trying. I'm a little bit more relaxed now than when I started.
You're doing amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, it's time. So anyone has any questions? No? Okay. I keep thinking it's 9:15. It was 9:10. I'm sorry. I am 5 minutes late, actually, instead of exact on time. But anyone who ever wants to message me anytime, I'm always willing to help and have you guys be healthy and happy.
Picture time.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr.